That's just a little cold right there.
All right, let's do it. Go. This is C and D.
Oh, now you had a side seat.
I mean, you could give it to her.
Just try to come to the end and you got something. You at least go to work on it.
Yeah, just go.
Yeah, the cold's not here.
Nothing ready.
You know, I'd rather be here.
Hopefully nothing too.
If I set him in a place, that's where I want to go back to.
I think that's it, right? The cold's,
She can't come.
yeah, I saw the text. Okay, well, it's 5:30. Call the meeting to order of the March 7th Blue Ridge Downtown Development Authority. Start off, we have some council seats saved, but
Yeah, I was cold.
you were cold, so you moved
Yeah, I
back.
went back, so.
Well, we can probably turn that off.
That's okay.
I just don't know where the switch is. So I don't know.
Amy's on the move.
Amy knows. Amy knows where everything is. She's already taught me how to run the camera, so that's good.
And she actually can help send the emails, because I just asked her so.
Oh, good.
Perfect.
So she
Okay.
knows.
All right, so do you know if any other council,
I haven't heard.
okay, that's fine. We'll proceed. First item after that would be the approving the minutes. This is my first meeting as chairman, so I'm learning a little bit along the way. I got the minutes from Caesar, but didn't really do what I was probably supposed to do with them, which is hand them out to everyone.
Or send it to them.
Yeah, so before we leave, I'm gonna get both of your emails, and then I've got all, make sure I've got everybody's, I'll send them out, you guys tell me if we're good, and then I'll go back, make any changes and have that done, and then we'll table that until next month, and then we can approve them then after all of you get an opportunity to see them. As far as the chairman's update goes, we're just getting started. We're glad we've added Andy and Laura to the group. Nicole is not here tonight, so we're getting to the point of having a full measure, which is nice. So we'll continue on. They're going to start getting involved as we start moving along with them and go from there. So I think everybody has the agenda, but they also have the treasurer's report, which Michael got for me. Michael, that's correct. I'm still learning that as well. As of the end of February, our total revenue in hand is $438,962.87 for an ending, and then we've had some expenditures to give us an ending account balance of $408,806.62. So we've got some funds to work with on certain things. So I had in the agenda like parking revenue, but that's really a moot point at this measure, since council now has that. Yeah, so that'll stay with them, not with us any further. So with that, we're going to go to our committee chair and general updates. Nicole is not here. Did you talk to her? Anything regarding the sign? Y'all talked to him?
I didn't, she was texting me. The only thing she said is right now we are on, waiting to get scheduled by the people who do the signing to be able to come in and do it. So, I mean, they have all the parameters. It's just a matter of them giving us a date they're going to come in and do it. That's what she's doing. That's what she told me.
And I'm sorry, but what was the signs that we went over last meeting, what was the cost on those?
I think between both the one company that's doing the more sophisticated signing and the high school who was going to do some of the signing, the total expenditure, I believe, I'd have to go back and look, I think it was somewhere in the neighborhood of $60,000.
Yeah, that's what actually someone asked me, and they thought that was, and
I
I said.
think it's
well,
closer to
that's-
$62,000, if
Okay.
I remember correctly,
Okay.
which originally that signing package was, the first bidder who did it gave us a price of like $320,000.
Yeah, I knew it come down, yeah, okay, thank you.
So is the school going to, I mean, obviously everything's ordering and getting stuff, and we all know how hard it is to get materials and things like that, so we're still planning though probably in the next several months to get this underway.
I would hope so.
Right.
But again, Nicole has all that information.
I'll get with Nicole and talk, because I wanted to see if she found out anything regarding the one up on 515, as far as getting power to that one.
I think probably she did, because she told me the only thing she's waiting for right now is scheduling, so she must have some information.
All right. So moving on to the next is me on economic development. There were two things that I've been kind of working with, and one was to try to work some with the trains. My understanding now we have a new ownership group of the train, so I've not had an opportunity. Have you had an opportunity to meet with them, Rhonda?
Yes, and they've been with us, maybe, it's been with the company maybe 2 years. So they're new but not,
Okay, so it's not Patriot Rail anymore, it's another company, right?
no, it's still Patriot Rail.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay, I had heard that it'd been
No,
another. So it's still Patriot Rail, they changed it to North Georgia, or?
yes. It's still Mike, who has been with them for what, 2?
I thought it was closer, I thought it was before that.
It may have been, you know.
Okay,
Is it the company that bought it from Miles Pierce?
Mhm.
So it's a company after that.
After that,
I think
yeah.
it's gone through 2
okay.
ownerships.
and so Patriot Rail was like last, you know, I
Yeah,
seen
and
you
that she
sign.
still has it,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay, that was one of the things that, in talking with a lot of the local businesses and stuff, we had talked about improving flow, say, east and west, basically the main CBD block. And one of the things we want to talk to them about, and I was just never able to do it, is working with them to somehow or another, from everything that I've researched, Messer Street never closed. Now, it doesn't mean it wasn't intended to be, but nothing I can find say that Messer Street, when it comes across the railroad tracks, was ever actually vacated. So, not that they're doing anything wrong, but technically that's supposed to be a thoroughfare that still should be open. So how do we work with them to maybe try to open that up or do something to not have flow just be one big rectangle? Because you have a lot of people who want a hotel and they can maneuver around almost like in a figure 8.
I don't think you'll be able to do that. The train only offers so many crossings. And since it's an active rail from Depot Street down, that way with the train, I don't think you would be able to do that right there.
Right.
I think that's kind of, I think you're just, would be a waste of your time to even attempt that.
Well, we just wanted to talk to them about if there was any way we could do something. I mean, one of the things that I looked at and didn't delve in it too far, because I wanted to talk to them first, is could you develop something go over, up and over, like a walkway? And again, you get into liability. The city, all that has to be done. It may not even be feasible.
Yeah, honestly, I think with your railroad crossings, because even the one in town, you have to have the arms, and there are certain areas, I don't.
See, and that was what I wanted to
Yeah.
look into a little more with them, because yes, it is an active crossing, but it's not a traditional railway where you have constant trains coming through, on schedules. The only train that's ever on that track is theirs. So it's a little different. I don't really understand all the rules. Obviously, they have to follow NTSB and everything still. So just wanted to talk to them about some things. And, if it doesn't pan out, it doesn't.
There are other cities in Georgia that, railroad cities, that have train tracks through the middle of town that do have active overpasses.
Yeah, I mean, you guys,
Pedestrian
yeah,
Pedestrian, yeah.
yeah, you had talked about that last year.
So maybe we look at something like that with them, you know, to do something
Right.
just continue to move people in and around. So that's one of the things that we kind of approached. The second one is still, the main one is still the downtown DAS system. And I was hoping some more folks here, but I can talk with you. One of the things that we would like to do is get to a point where maybe this group, as well as council and all of you, could have some kind of little work session, and I can bring those folks in and let them start breaking this whole process down a little bit more, into more detail. You know, I've been kind of giving overview, and again, we're talking about doing an outdoor DAS system with what, and you'll hear the term ODAS, distributed antenna, and right now, there's a couple of different options they're looking at, but they wanted to get with the city and talk about the process a little bit, talk about the building of the ordinance for infrastructure and everything of that nature. Start talking with the city about what they're looking at in terms of decorative pole. Like I said, this group has just finished doing this exact thing in the French Quarter. And they've done it in Las Vegas and Steamboat and Breckenridge and places like that, a lot of places for tourists. And of course, the French Quarter, they did it in Savannah, I think, as well. Of course, the French Quarter has very strict historic rules. So the light poles and things they used there were all met their historic criteria. So they feel like, and I do as well, we can come up with a plan to put stuff here that will be aesthetically pleasing and still serve the purpose of what we're trying to do to improve Wi-Fi cell coverage and everything. Also, that will improve for police and fire as well. So I can get with you maybe later and see if we can set up a time. And I talked with him today, and he said he would be more than happy to come up with he and his partner and sit down and, you know, full presentation. I
That
called
would be
it his dog and pony.
And our attorney usually comes up on Tuesdays before our meeting. He's normally here most of that day, so we could schedule a time when the three and Eric could sit
Okay,
down
so
with.
maybe we get finished, you kind of give me some date, and I'll
Yeah.
get him pinned down tomorrow,
Okay, that
and we'll
sounds
get it
good.
set up for everybody to
Yeah.
come.
And then we can present it, we'll present it then to the council as what you guys present to us.
Okay.
Does he have a presentation already set?
He's got, I mean, he's sending some stuff to me as a PDF, but he can take that even further. He's not sent me, just like I said, in a lot of these cities, what they do is they set up, so if, obviously exclusivity to them is great, because what you want to do is when you build this system, it's capable of supporting every carrier. So your main carriers in the world, we're not talking necessarily the Metro PCS and Cricket and people like that are technically bought up by the bigger guys now. So you're looking at T-Mobile, AT&T, Verizon. Those are your three big carriers. Now you also have Dish coming into play. Google is talking about coming into play. So this system is capable. They share antennas now. They used to never, but now they do. So technically, all these carriers can get on these decorative poles with inside the cylinder. And it doesn't change the way it looks. It just, whether one's in there or four's in there, it all looks the same. And so what you want to try to do is develop an ordinance and rules that says, okay, if you show up here, the first place, the city ordinance says you have to go on our infrastructure because it's already here, it's already in place, fiber. And the carriers will go, yeah, that's fine. They don't really care. If you don't have any rules, they'll go mount on all your power poles coming down the street and they'll pay you $300 a year because that's what the FCC said they have to, but that's it. You don't want them to do that. And then they make them look horrible because they don't care. It's just they're going to shove up whatever they can get up and off they go. So you want to develop your ordinance and stuff. And tons and tons of cities already have these ordinances in place. The carriers just show up and go, okay, you got infrastructure. And they just, next, and they move on the thing.
So you can get a sample of the ordinance?
Yeah, he already has them written, and so they've been through, like I said, City of Las Vegas, City of New Orleans, all those ordinances and stuff, that language has already been through all their legal as well, so they're very well written. The second thing they can do is also help you with your ordinance for outside the central business district, because that becomes a different animal. That's where you're talking maybe towers and things like that, so they can offer you some guidance, and one of the things they said they would do is they would give that to you. They're not going to charge or anything, that's just here. You know, let your city attorneys review it. If it looks good, you can have it go through your process to put it in place. Once we get that done, once we have this work session, then they'll come up here and do an RF study. So they want to see where the bad pockets are and how it all works, and then how they would place these decorative poles. One of the other things they talked about is potentially using the pole at the depot. It's there, nobody, probably 90% of people don't even see it, but it's about a 75, 80-foot pole that's just, and it has one tiny antenna for the train. That's it, that's all it's on it. So we could probably do something with it as well to help. So I'll get with you and we'll put together a time to get him to come up and put the full, and have everyone here come and put the presentation together, and then we can start the next steps on that. So that's what I have, so we'll go to Natalie.
Hey, before we go, can I, back to the train, I've had people say that they wish that the train would park somewhere else and not divide East and West Main Street.
Yeah,
Would that be ever a chance that they could just park on the other side of Mountain Street?
For safety reasons, they haven't done that. Honestly, they've had, even with some of the abandoned rail cars down there now, they've had vandalism, and a lot of homeless have used them. So they've pretty much been vandalized. So that's kind of an issue right now. I think in the future, if that area develops, that might be a possibility for them. But
I think part of it is they don't want people crossing the train tracks.
yeah,
It's a danger, so, and I think by law, they're not supposed to. That's why when we're talking about having a pedestrian walkway over it, it allows flow to get people to come both sides. It's a lot of the people that are on West Main want to have more access to the people that are coming down this way, where they both go from areas.
Yeah.
So if there was a pedestrian walkway or overpass, then you could facilitate more people going to both sides.
and I can see that possibly happening. I just don't see like the road.
A road
actually,
going through.
yeah.
Yeah,
But
but
possibly an overpass, I think they would probably work with you on that.
I don't see why they would object to that.
Just probably not putting a road through there.
Yeah.
But that's been the problem, and we've talked about that when we were working on the 80th Street project. In fact, those cars have pretty much been vandalized, so, yeah.
Because there's nobody there.
Yeah.
Well, you'd
And
almost
it's-
have to,
yeah.
I think you'd almost have to, if you move them down beyond that parking lot, you'd almost have to build them a welcome center or something where people could go. I mean, the ideal would be to put them just down the street and have their own parking lot. But, you know,
Well, I mean,
Eventually.
I know they'd had to pull back up here, but even in just the off-season, when they don't run,
Yeah.
park it's, Yeah.
A lot of times they do, but for a little while,
Yeah.
so not for long enough.
I mean, even then, I mean, I've always wondered in the off-season, could they not move it above? They've still got track up there, I just don't know if it's suitable. You know, I'm not a train engineer, so
I think part of the
I don't
reason
know, but-
they like to keep it there is because the maintenance that they put on those things is all there. So it's easier for them to work on it, because we've talked to the train about this before. But I think the biggest liability for them is people crossing the tracks. And they don't want that to happen. So,
Okay.
from what I answered, if that answers.
that makes sense.
Mine is obviously need to get with the IT person and get the email going, so.
We have a person?
Yes, so that will happen.
So make sure,
I've got their names and
okay,
everything to
and
set
so
it
we
up,
can
yeah.
get them set up, and then they can teach us how to access that
Yeah.
email. Okay. All right, with that, Caesar? You don't have anything yet?
I'm just happy I'm not chairman.
There you go.
I'm, right now, I'm just trying to make sure if anybody has questions, you have questions, anybody else has questions, like you said, I've got
Yes.
my Bible. The only thing I would suggest for both city council and the members is make sure you get yourself a copy of the bylaws, read them, so you're familiar what's in the bylaws. It's basically all.
And where are they?
Huh?
Where do you get a copy?
Actually, they're on the city's website under
Okay.
DDA. If you go in there, you can download a copy of the bylaws.
Okay.
So it's very
And
simple.
then the other thing we need to do, you and I spoke about this morning, and you've been on a DDA, so you've probably already had the little training thing.
Yeah,
You've done that, so you're good.
I don't know if I need another one, but I have done that.
You don't.
You don't.
Once you've had it, that's all
You
you
need
need.
to do it, right?
Uh,
And
you-
Laura, okay.
You have up to a year to get it, so you're coming up.
Yeah, well, I've got several months.
Yeah, so we need to we'll see if we can get it set up, and, yeah, so if you already have it, I figured it was just a one thing, so.
Are they still offering online due to the COVID, or?
They might be,
Okay.
I'm not sure. But there's a schedule, they have them at different cities around, you're gonna have to go to it.
I mean, the one we did was like a 1 day,
Yeah.
so
The
it's like,
essentials.
it's an 8-hour day,
Yeah, 8 hour of the essentials, I think they call it now, although we did last year when I took it.
a lot of different programs and
Yeah.
stuff. that-
Yeah, kind of do the thing, and we'll team up and you do the same one. Okay.
Okay, that's all I have.
All right. So we open it up to a new member, Laura, and I know I said if you didn't have anything at this point, that's fine.
I don't have any new business. I'll just piggyback, if I can go back just a little bit on the item B, the wireless system that we were talking about. So if we have a workshop or we can sit down with the mayor, wouldn't it be, do you think it would be a good idea for us to bring some sample language? Because I've been looking into this a little bit myself, and there are a lot of communities in the United States, especially like small and scenic communities. We're not Las Vegas or New Orleans, we're a small scenic community, that they've had their city attorney craft some language pretty strong to make sure like 5G doesn't come into the community and you know, things that can hurt the environment. Because when we're talking about Wi-Fi and wireless technology, it can be incredibly environmentally invasive. So I don't know if we want to meet before and kind of
Yeah, we
talk
can,
about
I mean, we
some
can look
other.
and talk about all of that. One of the things about the wireless world is 25 years ago, the amount of power and everything used to function that was very, very high. Today, and I've done a lot of hearings regarding that, so like at a tower site, for example, they would say, well, we're going to get radiation, but the radiation from baking a potato in your microwave is like 30 times more than what they put out now, because technology has progressed. It's gotten much better, obviously, over the years. So yeah, we can absolutely do all that, and I'm sure that, you know, Toro Blanco is working with, they have all those studies and everything as well to show, you know, which have been approved by, you know, countless agencies, to government agencies and stuff over time. So absolutely we can do some stuff like that. And like I said, they're willing to present their ordinances that they've developed for other cities, and I'm sure they've done small cities. Like I said, they've done Steamboat and some other places that are tourist-driven cities. You know, their idea is to give you the language that they have, that they've already written, and then get that to the parties that be, to let them craft and adjust and do whatever. But they're kind of giving you a really good starting point. And then from that, you know, it can be manipulated however it needs to be for here, whatever needs to work for here. But yeah, absolutely. But it's a good starting point instead of starting from scratch. You kind of have a notebook. Here's your notebook, and if you want to, you know, you read it and talk about what you need to change, and we can do it. You know, that can be. Because at the end of the day, it's going to be the city's ordinance. They don't really care.
Yeah, that
You know,
sounds
but
good.
if they give you a starting point, they're just trying to be helpful in that sense. So absolutely. That's it? Okay, so we'll go to Andy.
Well, it's my second meeting, glad to be here. But I did want to bring one thing up. Again, it's my second meeting, I'm new, so I'm not, you know, get all these ideas, whatever. But after, like you said earlier, serving on a DDA before, you know, I know like the city of Rome, city of Carterville, other cities around kind of that area have DDA directors. I don't know how you guys feel about it, but, you know, looking at the budget, looking at the numbers, I did a little bit of research, and just for a comparison reason. The one in Cartersville's, I think, kind of top tier, salary-wise, but like 60 to 65 is what they're paying her. You know, I don't know. I mean, the reason I bring up the director side of it is I know just from our experience, and that's all I have to base it on. So if you don't like my idea, you know, it's fine. But that was the 3 years I served. The things that we got from that is like really good information in terms of like writing grants or finding ways to do things with the city. And also like coming up with like 5-year, 10-year plans. I know the city council and a lot of other people are looking at that too. But it kind of, you know, and like, instead of me coming up with like a project that I should just do, it's kind of like a director kind of looks at the whole picture. It's like it kind of prioritizes like what kind of money's be spent on now that maybe short term would be a good thing to do. We all kind of vote on it, talk about it, how can we implement it? But beyond that, I mean, there's a lot of things from just direction, like I talked to you the other day about. I mean, you know, we all have jobs and we're busy with our normal daily work and family and whatever. But when you hire a director, that's what he or she does. Like, that's what they do 100% of the time. And they can really have a lot more time to talk to other cities, see what's going on. I don't know. Like I said, I just thought I'd bring it up. I'm not pushing to do anything.
No, we talked about it last month, and I agreed that if we could have someone that could, especially someone that has the capability to write grants, because that's a whole thing in itself that none of us have. I don't have it.
Takes a lot of skill.
Yeah, I've seen
very
people.
time consuming.
It is, and everything has to be so precise when you write it, because they'll kick it out if you don't, and they have to know all that. So I definitely would like to look into having, somebody that could possibly do that. And then, from my perspective as a board here, I think as far as having projects or something, I think it's more of a thing that, from our perspective is if you see something, you're like you said, you're in business here, you're in town. Everyone here works in this, is pretty much in the CBD. So we see stuff all the time. I think if we see something, we bring it up. Okay, well, I'm seeing this, what do y'all think? What do y'all think? You see it as being a problem, or is it good, is it bad, is it whatever? And then from that, we may develop a project just out of what we see, what we've seen over time, so.
It was coming
definitely like
universal
to do that.
for cell service as, people
Yeah.
come in on the weekends.
Yeah,
and stuff
definitely like
that.
to, but yeah, I would love to have somebody that could, because I think there's a lot of grant money out there specifically for DDAs.
And our bylaws do allow us to hire a director. It's in there, so we can certainly have it. I think up until now, we didn't even have a full board.
Sure.
To go after some of this stuff.
Right.
So, but I think now that we have a full board, now that we have just over $400,000 in our chest, and we have more coming in every month, it does allow us some latitude to be able to look at that and hire somebody to do that. But yes, you're right, directors have been integral to DDAs in just about every major city. So I think we should look at doing it. It would just help us do that. The DDA is here, for the most part, were created to help the city do projects specifically, not specifically, but where it can really help a city is in different kinds of funding things that the city can't do to get some of those projects done. So that's where it operates the best, and a director can help steer those operations.
Right. And they have like the Main Street program, like, and a lot of that's already in place, like with signage and things that you can do, that kind of helps out local businesses as far as directional things like that, maps and what have you. I know we got something already in place, obviously.
So, but if you could hire a director who already has been trained in the Main Street project, that would be fantastic.
Right. Well, I mean, the only reason I brought it up, and again, forgive me, because this is my second meeting, I'm not trying to come in like I got these plans. It was
Sounds
just
like a
an
good
idea.
project for you, Andy.
Well, the project would be getting a director, I don't wanna be the director or anything, I'm
No,
just
that's
saying,
what I
like,
meant, yeah.
just taking a look at that, I think if you look at DDAs in other cities that have had DDAs for 20 years, you know, unfortunately, Blue Ridge hasn't. I'm not saying it's the answer, but there's been a lot of positive things go on with those cities because there was a director in place with a 5-year plan, 10-year plan, working toward goals.
No, absolutely.
That's all I got.
Absolutely.
That's what.
It's kind of like having
So
a,
you did find out that number was 60, 65 range?
Well, that was one of the cards.
No, that's
Yeah.
more, I mean, that's more than any rest of us done.
I think, you know, maybe, I don't know, you introduce different people and see what their qualifications are and see if it's something even you would even want to move on. Again, it's just an idea. I'm not even sure how everything works in terms of
So
like,
would we,
I'll bring an idea, where does it go from here?
My question would be, before hiring someone to direct the DDA, is I don't feel the city has any direction at all anyway. So what good would it do?
well, that's what they're, I mean,
well,
Well, you know what I'm saying, there's no overall plan. And I feel
Yeah.
like there should be like a coherent overall plan that everybody's going towards, and then we could streamline it. I understand the director as far as getting grants and funds, but I would be leery of hiring someone to direct.
well, the director actually, that position does more than just that, more than
Okay.
just grant writing, more than just somebody who would do extended planning. The director basically is the one who kind of manages all the different projects that the DDA is doing at that time. So it's not just a matter of not knowing where everything's going. For instance, the director would be the one who would set up the meeting with the people that are going to, you know, your project with
or
them.
to help us out with the
Right.
rail.
Or the city,
Or
you
with
know.
the railway, or with, I know we've been talking about bathrooms downtown. Director would help facilitate all of those things so that us, who are directors, aren't doing that. We're basically driving the direction in terms of projects that we think should be done and how you spend the money, that type of thing. The directors are the ones who are actually feet on the ground, making things happen. That's kind of what it would be.
I'm just wondering if we shouldn't have an overall
Oh,
plan or direction.
we absolutely
before we
should.
start.
And in a lot of other cities, Natalie, the DDA is the organization that facilitates the long-term planning process.
Okay.
They will bring in people from UGA or something like that.
Well, that's what I was
Georgia Cities
wondering,
or
like-
Georgia Municipal Association, and actually hire somebody to come in and do strategic planning. Yes.
Right, we actually, real quick, I'll say one last thing, I'll be quiet. We'll talk about UGA, we had UGA come in and did a study, like like downtown Target, again, it's the only thing I got to compare to, I'm not trying to make Larry Parker, I'm
It's the
getting
only
wrong,
thing you
just
got.
bringing in ideas. Shoot me down, no problem, I'm just bringing it up. The thing of it is, it's like, they do a downtown study, and they go, okay, like pedestrian crossing, like for the train, that's something they would notice and go, this would be maybe a good idea to implement this. It doesn't mean you're gonna do anything.
Yeah, they just